Jonathan.
Thank you. Well, I think over the last 15 years or so, we've seen a perfect storm come together. Obviously, local government funding has been reduced, and it varies across different councils, but funding from central government going down by 40-ish%. At the same time, I think the bit of that story that's less focused on is the councils have therefore become much more reliant on local income, whether that's council tax, whether that's retained business rates. And so effectively there's been a transfer of financial and political risk to councils. While we've seen their income reduce and councils' core spending power has gone down by some 20-odd%, we've also seen a massive increase both in demand and cost in the key statutory services that they're required by law to provide. So notably adult social care. Local authorities tell us that is the biggest long-term pressure on their finance. Children's services, which they tell us is the biggest short-term impact on their finances. Temporary accommodation. In all of these areas we've seen demand, so the number of kids with the HCP plans, the number of people requiring special educational needs support, the number of adults requiring domiciliary care, demand has gone up, but cost has also gone up. So if you look at, for example, the cost of children's residential care, which has almost doubled over the last 9 years or so. So really acute pressures. And that circle, I think, we've got to a point where it just can't be squared any longer. You also end up with central government then very much defining the terms of what's needed. So, ahead of the election, I interviewed 63 chief execs and leaders and asked them all about this. And one of the things they said is that even people who'd done quite well out of that bid funding, got money from the Levelling Up Fund, said, look, it's not really how I want to be funded. Is it funding the thing that I would most want to do if I could? No, not necessarily. It's we're doing the things that match the funding stream rather than the funding matching the things we need to do. So there's the predictability that it gives you no ability to sort of plan because you don't know if you're going to get it again next year. So the predictability, as Tony said, is a huge problem. But also, as Aileen said, it distorts the sort of strategic priorities. The government has committed to bringing in multi-year financial settlements, something that 97% of councils that we surveyed said they wanted to see. It's committed to re-examining the needs formula. The question becomes, that's all coming in next year. What happens in the meantime of that steady sort of drumbeat of councils getting closer and closer to bankruptcy? And what happens after that in terms of more significant long-term reform? Councils have already been pulling all the strings they have. So, yes, they can put up fees and charges on everything from cremations to swimming pools. They're already doing that year on year. They're already raising council tax. I mean, the vast majority of councils, 9 out of 10 raising council tax, the vast majority of them by the absolute maximum they can. One of the challenges here is that when and Andy talked about some of the ways people do it in other countries, places that do this, frankly, better than us, have a much wider range of revenue options for councils, whether that's sort of personal taxes, whether that's different forms of charges, whether that's different forms of investment. The capacity for which they can prepare for that is really limited. Yeah, I mean, we've done a big project with the University of Northumbria looking at this in other countries. We call it embedded autonomy. So councils have autonomy and flexibility and greater flex around revenue sources, but it's within a clear system of governance arrangements that provide accountability, etc. I do think that there is, we also need to be clear-sighted about this. From the centre, we're always saying, we want them to be entrepreneurial, but we don't want any risk. Well, we're going to have to make our minds up. Yeah, there is a degree of risk in that, and it's about deciding as a country and being clear about that and how far we want to allow that.